Hello everyone, I'm Santiago, and today I'm gonna be testing Need for Speed Payback on the GeForce GTX 1050 Ti. For FPS monitoring, I'll be using CAM. If you want to download this software, there's a link down in the description. And if you enjoy the content and want to support the channel directly, there are Humble and Amazon affiliate links down in the description as well. So Need for Speed Payback, I'll be doing 1080p, 900p, 720p and 1440p. To skip down at those sections of the video, check the description below. So first I'll show you 1080p on the G4560. First, it will be trying to be over the 30 frames per second with the maximum quality possible. Then it will be the same place, but testing significantly lower settings, because in this game it's quite difficult to get to 60 frames per second. So I use pretty much a mix between medium and low. And you'll notice on the G4560 that the GPU usage can drop quite a bit. So due to that and the stutters, I decided to switch to a Ryzen 3 1200 with a 3.9 GHz overclock. And there the game was much more stable, at least for what I played. At least from the feel that you get while playing the game, it feels much smoother. And those stutters that happened on the G4560 happened here as well, but they weren't as intensive. I'll expand more about the stutters and consistency in a second. By using the Ryzen 3, I used the same settings as on 1080p on the G4560. I didn't test lower resolutions on the G4560 due to the reason that if you have the GPU being limited by the CPU, which means that the CPU is one of the bottlenecks, lowering the resolution won't make a difference at all, because that's controlled by the GPU. If I lower to 720p and I put the lowest settings, it will have the same drops as on 1080p, those rough drops below 40 frames per second and the stutters. So it doesn't make a difference. If you will play at 900p and 720p with the G4560, expect very similar results to 1080p with the lower settings. So with the Ryzen, then on 900p I use slightly higher settings. So well, on 900p and 720p, what I did was the same as on 1080p, meaning that I show you an over 30 frames per second configuration, which means I crank up the settings as much as possible, trying to stay over 30 frames per second. And then I lower the settings, trying to maintain over 50 frames per second at the very least. But in this game it's very difficult. The game likes to drop quite a bit. It drops below 50 frames per second on very specific places. On this race was one of the worst that I had so far, so expect better performance later on the game. But well, if you want this game to be very consistent, be sure to have at least a quad-core high-clocked CPU. That should make a difference, plus fast storage. So yeah, now I'm going to talk to you about performance and the options menu, so you have more of an idea of what's going on. So before talking about the options menu and the options in it, I need to point some stuff out about the testing methodology. You'll see that I'm testing one of the first areas of the game, away from the city, but then you get a night race onto the city with a very fast car. Well, what I found out while playing the game was that most of the drops that I experienced were when going below bridges at night. That's because the bridges below them, they have some light sources that make the car produce shadows and all that kind of stuff, and that was a big hit to the frame rate apparently. And if there are more cars on screen, it generates even more shadows. That's why I just dropped there. So that compared to daytime, for example, wasn't as intensive because there are less light sources. Particles plus many light sources plus many cars on screen means high CPU usage and, well, a lot of GPU usage as well. That's why I tested this area. There are cars just crashing against stuff, which means particles. Then when you're drifting, you also generate particles, and well, you have many light sources there because it's nighttime, and some cars on screen. So that was my worst case scenario, because it uses a lot of CPU and a lot of GPU. And one very weird thing that I noticed was that the game stutters quite a bit on some very specific parts. The part when you just, after you jump through the ramp and go into the street and the police starts chasing you, that's a scripted event, but once the police shows up, the game starts to stutter in the same places, but it seems to stutter just before the police cars show up. So when a police car is about to show up, the game just stutters. It seems that the police car is just being loaded into memory just from 1 second to another, and that makes the game stutter. I tried better CPUs and this still happened, but the stutter is even worse if you have a worse CPU. It seems to be storage plus CPU dependent. When I used the G4560 on my videos, the stutters were unbearable. I mean, I could even lose control of the car due to that big stutter. But then when I go to the Ryzen 3 1200 with the 3.9 GHz overclock, The stutter is still there, yeah, but it's not as bad. I mean, it's still manageable. I'm not saying it's okay, this is unacceptable. I even put 16 GB of RAM on all my videos on this game to show you that that's not a RAM issue, it's a CPU and storage issue, apparently. The game can use more than 8 GB of RAM, but if you have 8 GB, don't worry, you should be fine. But so far you'll see around 8 GB or 8.1 GB free. That means that from 16 GB we have 7.9, 8 GB free in some instances, in the worst cases. So don't worry too much about the RAM. Well, now talking about the options menu, the thing that gave me the worst performance so far was shadows. Shadows on Ultra is way too demanding compared to high, so if you want to get better performance or significantly better performance, lower shadows from Ultra to high, then restart the game, because sometimes those changes don't apply. And after you restart the game, you'll see a massive boost in performance with shadows on high instead of ultra. Then, in occlusion, you have many options as well. I recommend using HPAO. It's not a huge difference in performance, but it's a noticeable one. Then on the texture quality option, I saw, for example, on the 1050 Ti, that's a 4 gig card, that the textures had trouble loading. They took a lot of time to load, so I used high textures instead of ultra, and the textures loaded way quicker. So if you have a 4 GB video card, I recommend using high. If you have more than 4 gigs, use ultra on textures. If you have 2 gigs, I'll use medium or low. Just try it out and see how it goes, but restart the game after changing that setting. Then post-process quality, effects and geometry should give you a good boost, but it's not as significant as the other options. Usually post-process quality and effects are a big hit when they are lowered together, and I didn't see much of a difference with terrain and vegetation quality lowered, but that's because I was in the city. When you're in the wilderness, for example, a place with a lot of foliage and all that kind of stuff, terrain and vegetation quality makes a difference. But yeah, not much else to say. I'm very disappointed with this. This has to be fixed. Just due to scripted stuff, we get drops in the frame rate, those stutters. That's it for now. Thank you guys for watching and see you next time.
One launch pad coming up. Kingston, we have liftoff.
Jump a $2 million hypercar. Check.
Can I mention again how much I hate you?
That's our paycheck you're driving, Morgan. Get that car to wrap. For a silver Koenigsegg Regera, vehicle is of extremely high value.
Stolen Regera, code 3.
All units in pursuit be advised. Due to the Regera's high value, you are to arrest the subject with minimal damage.
Jess, got cops on my 6.
Keep moving. I'll be right there.
Whatever you're thinking of, stop. You're bringing the car back to me right now.
He mad?
Oh, be mad.
1 out of 13. What is your location of travel now?
Now in eastbound Carson Street. We're back on them. Resuming pursuit. Now heading eastbound, approaching Silver Rock East.
Copy.
Jess, where are you?
Hold on.
Jess?
Got your back, big guy.
One down, half a precinct to go.
You worried?
With you? Never.
Control, entering pursuit of a dark BMW M5 ramming our cars, requesting additional units on the Regera.
Copy out of 13. Stay on the M5.
How you like that?
They're gonna lock down the whole sector.
Whoa, the power and torque on this thing. Rap's souped up Mustang doesn't even come close.
Tyler, you're like a brother to me, but I hate you so much right now.
They say you're the best racer in town, Morgan. Prove it. Ty, get ready. You've got to hit the rendezvous point at high speed. We've only got one shot at this. Once you hit that jump, there'll be no turning back.
Mac, I'm coming up on the rendezvous. Better be in position.
I'm almost there.
Almost. Mac.
Just line her up and floor it. Trust me.
it, guys. Don't mess this up.
Mac, coming in hot.
One launch pad coming up. Houston, we have liftoff.
Jump a $2 million hypercar. Check.
Can I mention again how much I hate you?
That's our paycheck you're driving, Morgan. Get that car to wrap.
For a silver Koenigsegg Regera, vehicle is of extremely high value.
Stolen Regera, code 3.
All units in pursuit be advised. Due to the Regera's high value, you are to arrest the subject with minimal damage.
Jess, got cops on my 6.
Keep moving. I'll be right there.
Whatever you're thinking of, stop. You're bringing the car back to me right now.
He mad?
Oh, he mad.
1 out of 13, please provide a location update.
Now heading eastbound on Carson Street.
Copy that, out of 13.
813, we got them. They're a billionaire's row.
All units be advised. 1 out of 13 is back in pursuit.
Jess, where are you?
Hold on!
Jess?
Got your back, big guy.
One down, half a precinct to go.
You worried?
With you? Never.
Entering pursuit with dark BMW M5 red. Using our cars, requesting additional units on the Regera.
Copy out of 13, stay on the M5.
They're gonna lock down the whole sector. Better get rid of them fast.
Got them on the hook.
Whoa, the power and torque on this thing. Rav's souped up Mustang doesn't even come close.
Tyler, you're like a brother to me, but I hate you so much right now.
They say you're the best racer in town, Morgan. Prove it. Ty, get ready. You've got to hit the rendezvous point at high speed. We've only got one shot at this. Once you hit that jump, there'll be no turning back.
Mac, I'm coming up on the rendezvous. Better be in position.
I'm almost there.
Almost. Mac.
Light her up and floor it. Trust me.
This is it, guys. Don't mess this up.
Mac, coming in hot.
One launch pad coming up. Houston, we have liftoff.
Jump a $2 million hypercar. Check.
Can I mention again how much I hate you?
That's our paycheck you're driving, Morgan. Get that car to wrap.
For a silver Koenigsegg Regera, vehicle is of extremely high value.
Stolen Regera, code 3.
All units in pursuit be advised. Due to the Regera's high value, you are to arrest the subject with minimal damage.
Jess, got cops on my 6.
Keep moving. I'll be right there.
Whatever you're thinking of, stop. You're bringing the car back to me right now.
He mad?
Oh, he mad.
1 out of 13, please provide a location update.
Now heading southbound on Carson Street.
Copy that, out of 13.
Adam 13, we've got eyes on the subject. Now heading eastbound approaching Silver Rock East.
Jess, where are you?
Hold on!
Jess?
Got your back, big guy.
Subject hit.
One down, half a precinct to go.
You worried?
With you? Never.
Control entering pursuit with dark BMW M5 ramming up.
torque on this thing. Rap's souped-up Mustang doesn't even come close.
Tyler, you're like a brother to me, but I hate you so much right now.
They say you're the best racer in town, Morgan. Prove it. Ty, get ready. You've got to hit the rendezvous point at high speed. We've only got one shot at this. Once you hit that jump, there'll be no turning back.
Mac, I'm coming up on the rendezvous. You better be in position.
I'm almost there.
Almost. Mac.
Just line her up and floor it. Trust me.
This is it, guys. Don't mess this up.
Mac, coming in hot.
One launch pad coming up. Houston, we have liftoff.
Jump a $2 million hypercar. Check.
Can I mention again how much I hate you?
That's our paycheck you're driving, Morgan. Get that car to Rad.
For a silver Koenigsegg Regera, vehicle is of extremely high value. All units in pursuit be advised. Due to the Regera's high value, you are to arrest the subject.
Just got... Cops on my 6.
Keep moving. I'll be right there.
Whatever you're thinking of, stop. You're bringing the car back to me right now.
He mad?
Holy man.
1 out of 13, please provide location update.
13, we've got them. They're a Billionaire's Row.
All units be advised. 1 out of 13 is back in pursuit of the subject.
Now, eastbound approaching Silver Rock East. Out of 30.
Jess, where are you?
Hold on!
Jess?
Got your back, big guy.
One down, half a precinct to go.
You worried?
With you? Never.
Dark, we have Delta M5 ramming our cars. Requesting additional units on the Regera.
Copy Adam 13, stay on the M5.
Trading paint with the subject.
Damn, that's gotta stay.
Whoa, the power and torque on this thing. Rap's souped-up Mustang doesn't even come close.
Tyler, you're like a brother to me, but I hate you so much right now.
They say you're the best racer in town, Morgan. Prove it. Ty, get ready. You've got to hit the rendezvous point at high speed. We've only got one shot at this. Once you hit that jump, there'll be no turning back.
Mac, I'm coming up on the rendezvous. Better be in position.
I'm almost there.
Almost. Mac.
Just line her up and floor it. Trust me.
This is it, guys. Don't mess this up.
Mac, coming in hot.
One launch pad coming up. Houston, we have liftoff.
Jump a $2 million hypercar. Check.
Can I mention again how much I hate you?
That's our paycheck you're driving, Morgan. Get that car to Rad.
For a silver Koenigsegg Regera, vehicle is of extremely high value.
Control, we're pursuing stolen Regera, code 3.
All units in pursuit be advised. Due to the Regera's high value, you are to arrest...
Just got... Cops on my 6.
Keep moving. I'll be right there.
Whatever you're thinking of, stop. You're bringing the car back to me right now.
He mad?
Oh, he mad.
We're on them. They're now in Silver Rock.
All units be advised. 1 out of...
Jess, where are you? on this thing. Rap's souped-up Mustang doesn't even come close.
Tyler, you're like a brother to me, but I hate you so much right now.
They say you're the best racer in town, Morgan. Prove it. Ty, get ready. You've got to hit the rendezvous point at high speed. We've only got one shot at this. Once you hit that jump, there'll be no turning back.
Mac, I'm coming up on the rendezvous. Better be in position.
I'm almost there.
Almost. Mac.
Just line her up and floor it. Trust me.
This is it, guys. Don't mess this up.
Mac, coming in hot.
One launch pad coming up. Houston, we have liftoff.
Jump a $2 million hypercar. Check.
Can I mention again how much I hate you?
That's our paycheck you're driving, Morgan. Get that car to wrap.
For a silver Koenigsegg Regera, vehicle is of extremely high value.
Code 3.
All units in pursuit be advised. Due to the Regera's high value, you are to arrest the subject with minimal damage.
Jess, got cover. It's on my 6.
Keep moving. I'll be right there.
Whatever you're thinking of, stop. You're bringing the car back to me right now.
You mad?
Oh, he mad.
Some travel now.
Now heading eastbound to Billionaire's Road. 813, you got them. They're Billionaire's Road.
All units be advised. 1 out of 13 is back in pursuit of the subject.
Now heading eastbound on Silver Rock East. Adam 13 plus.
Jess, where are you?
Hold on.
Jess?
Got your back, big guy.
One down. On this thing. Rap's souped-up Mustang doesn't even come close.
Tyler, you're like a brother to me, but I hate you so much right now.
They say you're the best racer in town, Morgan. Prove it. Ty, get ready. You've got to hit the rendezvous point at high speed. We've only got one shot at this. Once you hit that jump, there'll be no turning back.
I'm coming up on the rendezvous. Better be in position.
I'm almost there.
Almost. Mac.
Just line her up and floor it. Trust me.
This is it, guys. Don't mess this up.
Mac, coming in hot.
One launch pad coming up. Houston, we have liftoff.
Jump a $2 million hypercar. Check.
Can I mention again how much I hate you?
That's our paycheck you're driving, Morgan. Get that car to wrap.
Go for a silver Koenigsegg Regera. Vehicle is of extremely high value.
Stolen Regera, Code 3.
All units in pursuit be advised. Due to the Regera's high value, you are to arrest the subject with minimal...
Jess, got cops on my 6.
Keep moving. I'll be right there.
Whatever you're thinking of, stop. You're bringing the car back to me right now.
He mad?
Oh, he mad.
They're Billionaire's Road.
All units 1 out of 13 has resumed pursuit of the subject.
Jess, where are you?
Hold on.
Jess?
Got your back, big guy.
One down, half a precinct to go.
You worried?
With you? Never.
Control entering the dark BMW.
Watch it!
Our cars will
13, stay on the...
Let's tussle, boys!